Hello and welcome to my video, lesson 3.2, odds versus probability. So if you haven't yet, make sure you watch 3.1, which is all about probability, or at least an introduction to it. So odds versus probability, we have the odds, probability being the comparison of favorable to the total, so favorable to the total outcomes, and we usually represent this as a fraction, or perhaps sometimes as a decimal. Sometimes decimal. Okay? Usually as a fraction, sometimes a decimal. Decimal. There you go. Odds for, so what are the odds for something happening, is a ratio on the other hand. Okay, and it's comparing favorable to unfavorable outcomes. So let's just give an example first, then we'll talk about these things. So my favorite example whenever I'm talking about probability, just to start with, is always flipping a coin. So if you flip a coin, what is the probability of getting heads? Well, it's 1/2, or you could say 0.5. Right? The probability of getting heads is 1/2. 1 out of every 2 flips. Right? So what you want is the 1, which is heads, and how many times do you have to flip it to get it? 2. So 1 every 2 flips. Okay? The odds of getting heads, on the other hand, is slightly different. The odds of getting a head is 1 to 1, because it's a 1 is favorable and 1 is unfavorable. Tails would be the unfavorable. Okay, so the difference becomes pretty clear once we show it like this, where we have obviously different values, 1 and 2 and 1 and 1. So let's take a look at some of these formulas. So probability is favorable versus total. This is a fraction. So just like I've shown, odds for would have favorable on the left and unfavorable on the right. Odds against would have unfavorable on the left and favorable on the right. And the total is, if you just add up the favorable and unfavorable together, that's how you get the total. Okay, so all of that stuff lets us convert between probability and odds very, very easily, as well as gives us an understanding of what they mean. So, rolling a 6-sided dice, what is the probability that you'll roll a number higher than a 4? Okay, so if you think about a 6-sided dice, there are 6 sides, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what's a higher number than 4? Well, 5 and 6 are higher than 4. So if we think about probability, 2 out of the 6 options, 2 out of the total 6 options, are higher than 4. Okay, and we can actually simplify that as well. So it's 1 out of 3. Excuse me. So what are the odds for rolling a number higher than 4? Well, odds, we have to talk about favorable versus unfavorable. So favorable is the part that I circled or boxed in blue. So there are 2, whoops, I wanted to use blue for that. There are 2 favorable outcomes. And how many unfavorable outcomes? There are 4 unfavorable outcomes. So 2 to 4. And we could also simplify this in the same way that we did above, to 1 and 2. Because a ratio is just basically a fraction in a different way, right? You're just turning it on its side. Okay, and what are the odds against rolling a number higher than 4? Well, it's just the opposite, so 2 to 1. You just flip it. 4 to 2, and then that flips to 2 to 1. or simplifies 2 to 1. All right, pause the video, try the next 2 questions, and see if you can get it right. All right, hopefully you are able to pause the video and try it out. Let's take a look at these 2 questions. A badminton player has a 5 to 3 win rate. What is the probability of him winning his next game? So 5 to 3 win rate, well, that means he has 5 wins for every, and 3 losses, for every 3 losses. Okay, so what's the probability of him winning next game? So we need to change it from an odds question to a probability question. How can we do that? Well, we need to think about the total. So total is favorable plus unfavorable. So 5 plus 3. So that equals 8. So now that we have the total, we can put that on the bottom. And we have favorable, which is our 5. So we put that on top. And so that is our probability. All right, let's try the next one. A basketball player has a 60% chance of scoring during a free throw. What are the odds against him scoring? So this time we're starting with the probability, and 60%. Another way to write this is 60%. Well, percent just means per 100. So it's 60 per 100, right? So another way we could write this is 60 over 100. So if this is a probability, the 60 is favorable and the 100 is total. What we need to do is we need to find the unfavorable. So total, again up here, total equals favorable plus unfavorable. So if we minus favorable from the total, we get the unfavorable. Okay, so now this is our unfavorable number. So what are the odds against him scoring? Well, we have to start with our unfavorable because it's against. And then we put our colon and put our favorable. So 40 to 60 are the odds. All right, I hope this video helps you understand odds versus probability a little bit better. Good luck.